Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to Figure It Out Fridays with your girl, Coach Regina, your lifestyle and leadership strategist. Today, we're going to be talking about an area of life and work, wherever you may land, that affects so many people yet and again. I'm talking about stress and burnout. What's up, Jay? Thank you for watching. I'm talking about stress and burnout. And what I did, because this has been a prevalent conversation over the last, I don't know, probably the last 6 or 7 months, is I developed a framework called the Quad Shift. And back in August, I keynoted at a conference and I laid out and I shared these same principles, 4 principles with leaders. And then I've also done a couple of workshops and a couple of more talks sharing about the same framework. So today I just wanted to make it public again, bring it back to your remembrance. When we talk about stress and burnout, you all know stress, burnout don't just knock, okay? Sometimes it barges in and it just kicks the door down. I don't know if you are where you are in your place as we're good morning, Rise. As we're closing out the end of the year, people are feeling heavier. They're feeling so much heavier. I've been having conversations with people who are just literally at a place of overwhelm. So I've been taking on some new clients so we can navigate before the end of the year. Because what we don't want to happen is that, good morning, Dee. What we don't want to happen is that we come to the end of the year. We do know the holidays can be an added stressor. And then on top of that, you're going into the new year carrying all the stuff from last year. And then we're going to holler about we got some New Year resolutions. We do not have to wait until the new year. And so we're going to have this conversation today. I have been on this health journey, this wellness journey, and where as a leader, I began to share things with my team that would help them to be better to be better teammates, to serve well and better in their just personal lives. Because what I know is any good leader, striving to be a better leader, to be an effective leader, you got to consider your team. You got to consider the people that you're responsible for. And I'm not just talking about those who are above you. I am talking about the people that you serve and you give guidance to. People, you set the example. And so you can actually use your self-care matters, how you operate under stress, how you are trying to prevent burnout. You can use that as a leadership strategy. And so that's what I'm going to say today. We're going to have this conversation and we're going to type it in the chat, the Quad Shift. Quad is QUAD. QUAD. I'm going to break that down for you so that you can go head on and start applying it to your life. We're going to talk about the framework, and then I'm going to give you some practical steps. We're going to be in and out in like 30 minutes, right? It's a leg day, y'all. It's a leg day, and I got to get like 12,000 steps in. So I got some things that I need to do this day. I don't know what you got to do. However, my wellness is a priority for me, including my physical wellness. That's one of the things that help me to prevent stress and burnout. But that's a conversation for another day. So listen, maybe you have been in a place where you're fully showing up and you're doing all the things because that's what you're supposed to do, right? There's nothing wrong with that. If you have roles and responsibilities in your home, you have roles and responsibilities on the job, you have roles and responsibilities in the church house, your civic organization, but at some point, your mind and your body may decide to tap out. One of the things that we tend to do as people with integrity, and I'm not saying that people without integrity don't do this, but you'll find that you go hard and you go long because that's just who you are. I mean, it's simply just who you are. But at some point, your mind and your body will just tap out. When I was in the workspace, I've had team members that I had to say, you've got to take off. You have got to unplug. You have got to stop taking that cell phone with you on vacation. You've got to leave that computer at home. We have wired and trained people around us to this behavior that is counterproductive to our health. Uh, some leaders, managers, executives, they may not want to hear this conversation, but when we're talking about a capital that is very limited, I'm talking about human capital, we want to think about how are we or how maybe we could be contributing to their stress and burnout. And that's a real conversation. You may be very productive, but you're not at peace. You may be showing up, but you're not present. You may be pouring out, but who's pouring back into you? That's what we want to address. So here's the quiet shift. If any of those resonated with you, extremely productive, but baby, you got no peace. You showing up fully, or you showing up, but you're not fully present. You're pouring out, pouring out, pouring out, but you have no one to honestly refill your cup. If that's you, lean in because we're going to do some shift. I'm going to invite you. I'm going to invite you to shift that energy. We're going to shift that busy energy. If you're with me, drop it in the comments. Quad shift. Quad shift. QUAD. Let me tell y'all, I'm an athlete, and so I use a play on the word quad. Like, we got to move these muscles. And the muscles that we're going to move today is around our mindset. We're going to use our brain muscle today. So quad stands for, first of all, the Q stands for, and drop it in the chat or in the comments, quiet the noise. When we're talking about stress and burnout, the Q stands for quiet the noise. The U stands for unlearn and uproot. We got so many bad habits that we need to unlearn and uproot. The U stands for unlearn and uproot. Your A stands for align and activate. Baby, are you even in alignment? Is that why you stressed out because you ain't in alignment? And then the D stands for do the work to do it differently. Do the work to do it. What's up, Miami? What's up? Miami? They're my Floridian peoples. Hey, what's up? So this is how I want to give you this framework. You can apply this to any area of your life. I apply this to every area of my life. And then I'm going to ask you all to do this. If you're on YouTube, Doing Life Well with Regina, Facebook, I want you all to share this content out. I want you all to go ahead on and share this out and let me know when you've done that. Quiet the noise. Let's break this thing down. Let's have this conversation. When you're talking about stress, there are so many things that can lead to you being in a place where you're overwhelmed and you're fully stressed. I mean, you are just at capacity. A lot of times we don't acknowledge that. And the thing is, when we are chronically stressed, I'm not talking about acute stress. You all know, or maybe you don't know, there's a difference in acute stress and chronic stress. Acute stress, you go outside, maybe your tire's on flat or your dog done pooped on your step. Okay, you got to hurry up before you go to work, get that situation resolved. There's a time limit to it, and you see an end in sight. Chronic stress, 3 months or longer, you're having these anxiety, you're having all these emotional things going on, you are overwhelmed, and this has been going on for a period of time. Whether it's in your work, whether it's in your relationships, whatever the case may be, you find yourself saying, I am stressed, I'm in a stressful place. And so in order for you to, do something about that, you got to quiet the noise. Because sometimes that noise is mental, you in your own head. Sometimes that noise is emotional. You're in toxic situations, whether it's a toxic situation at work, whether it's a toxic situation in your church, in your household, with your kids. It could be in anywhere that's controlling our emotional bandwidth. Or some of that noise could be digital. Like, y'all chill with your girl, but some of that noise could be digital. We need to quiet some of the noise. The thing is, we can't hear what our body or our spirit is trying to tell us when we're plugged and tapped into so many of these things. when you're tapped into your device constantly, and you never unplug, or if you're in the workplace, and I use this example when I was at a retreat a couple of months ago with some leaders. People come to work, and if you're a leader, people come to work, and before they sit down, they got 3,207 emails already before 9 o'clock. Do you have to send out all those emails before 9 o'clock? 9 times out of 10, you don't. So quiet the noise could be restructuring some things in your life, restructure some things in your workplace. And so what I want to invite you to in point number one, in quiet shift and quiet the noise, that looks like creating some margin. It looks like giving yourself permission to pause, to unplug, and to breathe. Okay? And so this is what I did this week, to unplug and to breathe. I'm not just sharing information with y'all because it just sounds good. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm still doing that because I want to be a well soul. That's what BAWS stands for, BAWS. I want to be a well soul every day. I want to do one thing every single day that makes me 1% better than I was yesterday. That's my invitation to you. So what I did this week, I think it was Wednesday, I took the day off. I had a conversation with upper management, and I actually took the day off. I was not sick. It wasn't that I did not feel well. I had an excellent workout that morning. I had my day planned out, but I decided that I wanted to take off, that I wanted to rest and do some restorative practices for myself. And that's exactly what I did. I did some reading. I'm reading a book, Atomic Habits, and I'm inviting you to invest in your own personal development. Don't wait on your church. Don't wait on your job. Invest in your own personal development. So I read my book. I spent some time just doing absolutely fundamentally nothing, and I didn't feel bad about it. So quiet the noise means creating some margins, whatever that looks like for you. So let me just give you a practical tip before we move on to unlearn and uproot, right? So here's your practical tip for quiet the noise. Start your morning, and you've heard it. It's an amazing book, Tanya. It's really a phenomenal book. It really is. Practical step. Some of you all may say, well, I get up in the morning and I don't know what you're doing. Let's just make it real simple. Start your morning with 5 minutes of stillness. I used to be like, well, start your morning, get you some jazz music, because I like jazz music. I like instrumental music. And some people have water, just wake up, find you a place, and just be in stillness, even before you turn the device on, even before you start those additional practices, which are very, very good, your meditation practices. I'm inviting you to just 5 minutes of stillness. If you can't sit still with yourself for 5 minutes, let's try 1 minute. Let's try 1 minute of stillness. No phone, no emails, just you. Breathe in, breathe out, because guess what? Clarity cannot compete with clutter. Drop that in the comments. Clarity cannot compete with clutter. If you are scrolling on social media, if you are listening to this, trying to work on your to-do list before the day gets started, you won't have a clear space. So give your brain, give your mind, give your body a fighting chance with clear space. Start with stillness. Then, because you create that margin of space that I'm going to be still for 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever length of time. Create that stillness. Y'all know I have to pull up my water, okay? Make sure you have your water. That's a freebie on a Friday. All right. Quiet the noise. I want you to start your morning with 5 minutes of stillness. If you can't do 5 minutes, start out with 1 minute. Start out with 1 minute. And here's why. Clarity cannot compete with chaos. Clarity cannot compete with clutter. If you got all these other things rolling around in your head, you will not start your day in clarity. You will not start your day clear, right? So that is the cue. Quiet the noise. Type in the chat, unlearn and uproot. We're talking about the quad shift this morning. How do we prevent chronic stress and burnout? How do we shift our thinking? How do we shift how we're showing up so that we don't lead to being chronically stressed, burned out, leaving our professions, leaving our healthy relationships, or if they toxic, now that's a different conversation. So unlearn and uproot. We have some very bad habits oftentimes. And I want to invite you to this space. Burnout isn't just about doing too much. It's about what you believe. You believe really too much about the wrong thing. Let me tell y'all, we have been taught that business equals value. Type that in the chat. Business does not equal value. The more you do in your household, the more you do in a company, the more you do at a church, the more you do in your civic organization, does not mean that you're adding value or does not mean that they value you anymore. However, that's what we've been taught and that's what we believe. The more that we do, the more we'll value. But the reality of it is sometimes the more we do, the more you're going to get asked to do. And so we have this mindset, which is really faulty thinking, that business equals value. And then you do not know how to unplug. You do not know how to take a break. So I'm inviting you to unlearn some of these trenched in behaviors that we've been taught. And I'm guilty. I am guilty. I did a podcast interview with my coach last month, and I'll drop that link for you all, some video. But I did a podcast. I said one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was in leadership was always saying yes. Always saying yes, and then having my team to be on board with that, actually running my team in the ground because my team performed with a level of excellence. We stayed busy. We ran on 1,000. And that is the greatest regret that I had as a leader. But it was after the fact, after I retired and I started to reflect on my life, I started to reflect on my leadership. This came up while I was in the workspace. My team was like, we're running too hard. Matter of fact, the agency brought in a consultant. And my team had a private conversation with the consultant and said she run us hot. And they were telling the truth. When I met with the lady and she was like, well, what do you think your team says? And I laid exactly word for word for word because it was no secret. I knew how I was running my team. I had expectations. I had standards. However, just because you have standards and just because you have a spirit of excellence does not mean you cannot prioritize and say no sometimes, or not right now, or maybe we need to move that down the road. I did not do that. And so what I inadvertently taught my team was, yes, we always gonna say yes, because that's just who we are. So a part of that, I had to go back. Wait a minute, Regina, what is that about? Is it about some element of pride that because your name is attached to it, you wanna always? No, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your team. If you are that person, I'm inviting you to unlearn that. Business does not equals value. Let me tell you this. If you continue the rate that you're going, your body will let you know. One of the things we have a fear of, and that is resting. There's this belief that if you take off or if you don't want to do anything that you're lazy. No. When you're exhausted, you don't even realize that you're really not giving your 100%. You're giving some leftovers. If you're exhausted, you're not giving 100%. And unfortunately, you're not as effective as you think you are. You really are not. And so unlearning means I want you to name that misinformation and replace it with what is true. Replace it with the truth. The truth is, when I show up, just because I show up, I am value. I don't have to raise my hand every time somebody asks for a new project to be led or a new something. I don't have to be the one, and my team don't have to be the one to be the first. If you're in an entity where there are multiple teams, can somebody else step up sometimes? Can we develop others around us so they feel more comfortable? And sometimes you have to kind of kick them out there because we like to coddle. Sometimes that's in our households. I know too many parents who are still cooking and cleaning for teenagers. And then when they go off to college, they can't make it. They looking real crazy. And so we need to unlearn some of these behaviors, some of these patterns, some of this mindset that we have. You don't have to earn rest. Rest is restoration. Type that in the comments. Rest is restoration and not a reward. You should not have to wake up on Monday looking forward to Friday. You should have a practice on Monday that allows you to be happy about Monday, to operate in Monday, okay. But oftentimes we looking forward to Friday on Monday morning. So let me ask you this. What belief is keeping you busy but not better? What belief is keeping you busy but not better? I'm inviting you to unlearn and uproot. Good morning. What's up? What's up? Unlearn and uproot all this busyness. One more time. One more time. Busyness does not equate to value. Just because you show up and you doing all the things, you raising your hand all the time, does not mean you're adding any more value. But what you are doing, and you fail to realize it, is compromising your health. Yep, it's compromising your health. I've had too many conversations to name in the last 2 months with people who are chronically stressed. Blood pressure is, and the thing about it is, I'm able to support them in my coaching programs, but these people have gained 30 plus pounds, showing up at work, going in early, staying late, afraid to ask for time off. Well, like I just mentioned to you all, I had a conversation this past Wednesday with upper management and took the day off. And then matter of fact, yesterday, I took a half a day off. Me and upper management had another conversation. So I don't know who you report to, or I don't know what that looks like for you, but don't be afraid if you need to take a pause. You do not have to make it up like you sick, like you not well, like your mama in the hospital. Like we're not putting stuff on somebody else. Own that thing. If you need to unplug, if you need to take a rest, I'm inviting you. And if you need permission, I'm going to give you permission. Take the time off, relax. Build in practices. Number one, you got to stop thinking that you cannot get some rest. Rest is restorative. Rest is restorative. Now, I just got to ask you this question. As much as Jesus walked around here and did, do you not realize he took some days off and went away and rested? If Jesus rested, who are we to think that we shouldn't rest? Let that be your example. And I'm going to leave you with that note with Unlearn and Uproot. Let that be your example. If Jesus can steal away and go and rest, who are we to believe that we cannot rest? All right. Number 3, align and activate. We're talking about the quad shift. If you want to, mitigate your stress, turn that thing around. If you want to prevent burnout, then there are some things you have to do. You have a choice to do. We talked about the Q is quiet the noise. Then we just finished up with the U, unlearn and uproot. Now let's talk about the A, and this is a very big one. Align and activate. Drop that in the chat. Align and activate. Drop that in the chat. Drop it in the comment. Align and activate. So here's the thing. Once you quiet the noise and you're able to hear, you're able to think clearly, and then once you uproot old patterns, Your pattern is probably way longer than the short list that I just listed. But okay, before I retire, listen to this, YouTube. I'm over here on Facebook. Let me read this comment to y'all. Before I retired, I had 400 hours of accrued time, never took a vacation. Time out. This is my girl in Florida. Who ain't taking no vacation in Florida? Like, everybody trying to get to Florida. So, Chantel, if you don't, I don't put the girl name out here. I'm sorry, sis. I won't tell your last name. But look, why didn't you take any time off? Did you feel obligated? Was management, they didn't allow you to take off? Did you feel like you couldn't take off because all the work would just pile up? Like, what were you thinking, or what beliefs that you had that prevented you from even taking off work? Can we have that conversation? 400 hours of accrued leave, and this beautiful soul says she never took a vacation. I want to hear more about that, Chantel. Drop that in the comments for me. Before she retired, okay, I have a Facebook, beautiful soul, 400 hours of accrued leave, never took a vacation. Now she's retired. And she says, because I felt obligated to. She felt obligated to always be present, always be available, and that had a lot to do with her personal intrinsic values. We show up in these workspaces, we show up in relationships, we show up in ministries, and we show up in our civic organizations with integrity. We have these intrinsic values. We have moral values that my name is on the line. Mama said nothing is better than a good reputation. Make sure you represent us well. And we take that same philosophy, that same mindset into the workspace. And we have this thought, or this feeling of obligation. She did not take a vacation. Thank you so much for sharing your transparency. Let me say this: I was in that place years ago, and I know what it feels like to always want to be available for your team, to always want to be available for your administrators and people who may need you. But this is what, at some point, I had some kind of holy epiphany, and I finally put it together. When I worked in mental health, my director at the time, he made a comment. Now, I really didn't marry the comment. I just thought that's a cool thing to say. But I really didn't marry the comment until later on. But let me say this to you all. I felt that I did not want to leave my team short. Get it. I got it. Been there, done that. Let me try to help you all out real quick. And what I'm about to say, it may sound insensitive, but it is not my intent at all to be insensitive. When I worked in mental health, my director said it was a Friday. It was early afternoon. He had a beautiful Harley, a motorcycle. This is my director now. He was second to the hospital director. This guy sent us a group message, and he said, "It's too beautiful to be at work. I'm about to go on a ride." Oh, I almost fell out my chair. I'm like, dude, you are the... But what that did, in actuality, it gave permission. Yes, I have this high role. Yes, I'm responsible for all of these other departments. Yes, I have all these responsibilities, but also, yes, I'm taking off. I'm not sick, I'm taking off. And so it was years later when I finally got that concept that and the other thing that he would say, this is the part that's going to sound like, oh, that's insensitive. No, but it's the truth. His words would be, if you got hit by a Mack truck today, they're going to go on tomorrow. Somebody may or may not show up at your funeral from the job. They may or may not. But I guarantee your position gonna be posted if you get hit by a man. Those were his words. I'm like, man, he kind of graphic. But the reality of it is, you make that sit in how I need to sit in with you. If you, for whatever reason, cannot show up tomorrow at work in the next several days, in the next week, and you in a position where you cannot return to work, your position will be refilled. So the invitation to unlearn and uproot some of these patterns of busy, busy, busy is only to so that you will be around 20 and 30 years later, 40 and 50 years later. So that is my invitation to you. Stop. Evaluate your situation. Let go of some of these, no. When we develop our teams, when we spend time and cultivate our teams, they may not do it the way that we do it, but trust them to make the best decision. I got to a place where I was able to trust my team because I spent time with them. I spent time with my team. We not only just had work meetings at work, we would have what I would call off-site meetings. I would invite you to that space. Have some off-site meetings in a neutral place, somewhat like a retreat. It doesn't have to be a retreat, but I'm saying an off-site meeting, because who want to look at them stained walls all the time when you're trying to cultivate and create a more nurturing environment, right? And so I invite you to do some things differently in that way. So I started to spend time with my team as a team, and I spent time with them one-on-one. It was many, many, many years later when I finally took a vacation. Matter of fact, it was only 2 years ago that I took a vacation, and I did not have my cell phone, and I did not have my work computer. Yep. And I have been working for 20 something years. So being on call 365, when I tell you there is no badge of honor in there, you cannot fully enjoy your time out because you wondering if the phone gonna ring. You're wondering if you need to check your email. And so your anxiety stays on a level that it should not stay on, which produces the cortisol in your gut. And you wonder why you got all that gut fat. It's not because you aging, it's because your body's releasing all that cortisol. So my invitation to you, quiet some of this noise of, I gotta volunteer all the time. Uproot some of these old patterns that we have. And then let's have this conversation about align and activate. Chantel from Miami, thank you so much for sharing. Chantel also said over here on Facebook, they sure will. They will forget about you in a month's time. I retired June the 30th, and I'm going to say no comment. But it has been the best experience of my life. I have no regrets about any of my prior employments, but being an entrepreneur, being able to work and do the work that God has called me to do and called me to be in, yeah, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. And so Chantel on Facebook says you can work and you can retire and no one will follow with you when you leave. And you thought you brought all that value all them years. You did not take off. You did not take a vacation. But after you leave, nobody communicates with you. That's why I want you to know your value is not attached to your organization. No. You are worthy. You are valuable just because you exist. And make sure your teams know that. They may not perform at the level that you want them to perform at, but you don't know what people are going through in their personal lives that they bring to work. That y'all tickle me. Y'all tickle me telling people to leave stuff at home. That's a conversation for another day. Let's talk about align and activate in the quiet shift. Once you quiet the noise, once you uproot some of these old patterns, it is time to type it in the chat. Align with your values. Align with your values. And so my question to you is, what truly matters to you right now? Does your health matter to you right now? Does moving up in the organization matter to you right now? Does restoring a personal relationship matter to you right now? Does being a leader in the church, I don't know, what truly matters to you right now? And so when you decide to start thinking about aligning and activating, I want you to ask yourself, first of all, what matters to me right now? Not the organization, not the church, not the civic organization, or not any other relationship. Take some time to spend with yourself. Stop avoiding you. I'm leaning in. Stop avoiding spending time with the most precious person in your life, that is you. Ask yourself, one, what truly matters to me right now? Two, ask yourself this, what does peace look like in my schedule? What does peace look like in my schedule? Do you even have room for peace? Do you even have room for that stillness? What does peace look like in my schedule? And then I want you to ask yourself, how can I honor my health and my calling at the same time? It's not either or. You're able to do both. How can I honor my calling and my health at the same time? Everybody not called to leave their job. Everybody not called to leave a relationship. But how can I honor my health? Because if I'm in a toxic relationship, if I'm in a toxic work environment, it is going to compromise my health. So what do I need to do? How can I honor them both if they both are my values right now? And so this is what I want you to think about. Your alignment gives you direction. Like when you start to see what you're supposed to be doing in this life, it gives you a pathway. Like I can't keep doing the things that I've been doing because they're out of alignment with my assignment. But once you come into alignment, you get that momentum and things just take off. Like they literally, I have been going, y'all, so much. Keynoting, I'm training, I'm meeting with leaders, I'm working with people in my coaching program. The momentum has been going because I'm in alignment with my assignment. I don't feel restricted. I don't feel like I can't show up and be able to pour into people in a very nurturing way, you know. And so I'm inviting you to that space. Alignment gives you direction. Some people say goals. That's a conversation for another day. But what are you aligned to? Who are you aligned to? What direction are y'all heading in? Is it a direction that aligns with your values? That's the question. Does the direction you're headed in, whether it's your personal relationship, a friend relationship, your job, your church, whatever, is it a direction that aligns with your intrinsic values? I'm not talking about the 10 core values that you see on your company's website. I'm truly talking about spending time with you. What are your values? What matters to me right now? What matters to me? And then are you putting yourself in alignment to those things? So when your daily actions, this is no big thing, when your daily actions, when the things that you pull up and do every single day match your deeper purpose, burnout has no room to breathe. Type that in the comments. When your daily actions, and I'm going to tell you why, when your daily actions match your deeper purpose, burnout has no room to breathe. Because here's the thing. You're going to be intentional with quieting the noise on a more consistent basis. You've already done the work to unlearn and uproot some things. You're aligning with your values, and then you do something daily. You can go to a retreat. Matter of fact, all my ladies, I'm going to be inviting y'all to a retreat in 2026. But you can go to a retreat. You can go to a conference. You can go to all these meetings and all these workshops. But when those are what we call one-offs. You go there one time a year, maybe 2 times a year. But what is the consistent thing that you're doing every single day that aligns with a deeper purpose? Do you even know what your deeper purpose is? When you understand your deep, like your real for real, your purpose in this thing, burnout has no room to breathe, because you're going to run that thing through a cycle to prevent yourself from getting burned out. You're going to see the warning signs. You're going to see it and you're going to cut that thing off. You're not going to let it breathe. So that is our A, align and activate. Once you quiet the noise, once we get rid of them old patterns, now it's time to align with our values. What matters to me right now? Now I'm going to give y'all a freebie on a Friday. Let me sip my water because I got a lot of ounces to get in. A lot of times we align our lives with our children. If you have children and they're involved in all these sports, this is one that I see quite a bit with women. We spend the bulk of our time chasing around our kiddos' schedule, and so we don't have time for ourselves. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to put this out here just for you, my good girl. If something happened to you today, what's going to happen to your kid tomorrow? Who's going to take your kid to practice? I had to say that. Because all too often we are prioritizing, and I'm not saying don't take care of your kid, but if your kid is at practice, can you get out the car and walk around the field yourself? Get your steps in. Figure out ways to not keep yourself on the back burner. I just had to say that. My guys, I'm going to need y'all to head on over there to the doctor and get yourself checked out. I don't know if you saw my stories yesterday, but Dr. Sean McKinney did breast surgery on a male who had breast cancer. And I understand that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Free on a Friday. We cannot avoid the basic things around our health as we're trying to lead. Because there is no if, there is no and or, it's both and. You can lead and you can lead well. You can lead and you can live well. That is my invitation to you today. It's not a I can't do both. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so I want you to start to do this alignment work. And it's not a one-time thing. It's every week. You should be doing an assessment on your situation. How did my week go? Work well. Because what we will do, and drop it in the comment if I'm right or wrong, what we will do is we're going to have a monthly meeting on our jobs, a quarterly meeting on our jobs, in our civic organizations, even in church organizations. We have these monthly and quarterly meetings where we're assessing our what we call KPIs, our key performance indicators. We're trying to meet these metrics on our jobs, in our companies, and even if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to meet these KPIs around everything except your well-being. Put some KPIs, key performance indicators, where you can measure how did I do this past week in terms of taking care of myself, so that you can continue to show up for everybody else. Let's get to this D. We talked about the Q is quiet the noise in the quad shift. We talked about the U is unlearn and uproot. We talked about the A, align and activate. Align with your values and activate so you can get you some momentum. Separate from things that are no longer serving you and activate the things that align with your value. Let's talk about the D before we get out of here. The D in the quad shift is you got to do the work to do it differently. This is where true transformation happens. You got to do the work to do it differently. Coach Regina, what are you talking about, girl? Real change, and you know this is nothing like, super miraculous, but real change does not come from intention. It comes from implementation. If you want to shift, drop that in the comment. You got to do the work to do it differently. You can have all the good intentions in the world. I intended, but transformation does not come from intention. It comes from implementation. Do the work means, when we're talking about stress and burnout, do the work means, number one, setting boundaries. Number two, implementing and holding those boundaries. Setting boundaries and holding those boundaries. Do the work means honoring daily self-care practices. Honoring your self-care practices, whatever that looks like for you, create a system. We need to be working more in systems so I can go back and evaluate what in that process did not work. Do you have a morning routine? I talked about that the other day. But doing the work means setting boundaries, holding to those boundaries, honoring your self-care on a daily basis. Stop waiting to Friday. Stop waiting till it's time to take another vacation. Do the work means saying no when you need to. That's one of the most underdeveloped muscles that we have, is that no muscle, because we so busy saying yes. Every time you say yes to somebody else, you're saying no to yourself. So do the work means saying no when you need to say no. And then the final thing I will say around that, would do the work to do it differently, is you want to build systems that support your wellness. Because here's the reality. You can't lead well if you're not living well. Drop it in the comments. You cannot lead well if you're not living well. And then when you're not living well, you unintentionally influence those around you, and they start living an unwell life just like you, and you don't even realize it. So, quiet the noise, unlearn and uproot, align and activate. Does this align with my assignment? Align and activate. And then we're going to do the work. Do the work is difficult. It can be difficult, but it's doable. So let me give you some more, just some basic, if you're a leader, whatever that looks like, workplace, church, ministry, in your household, here are some practical self-care strategies for leaders. And make sure y'all share this with somebody who too busy. Number one, schedule your rest like you schedule meetings. Drop that in the comment. Every day you should have rest time. Drop that in the comment. Schedule your rest like you schedule meetings. Number two, protect your quiet hours, whatever that is. I don't know if that's before you start your work day or before you start your day. You have to have some protected time, some real for real protected time where you are intentionally unavailable, you are intentionally unbothered, and you're unapologetic about that, because that just helps with your own restorative practices. Protect your quiet hours. And I have to say this, feed your body food that's going to fuel you for clarity and not chaos. All the junk stuff that we have in our drawers, y'all go ahead on and clean that stuff out. Feed your body the fuel that's going to give you clarity and not chaos. Right? And then the last thing that I would say that's going to help you in terms of a self-care strategy is, if you don't, I need you to keep an accountability partner or a coach, because in order for us to be consistent or develop some type of consistency, because if we could do this thing, we would have done it already. But evidently we need a little help. So consistency needs community. Type that in the chat. Consistency needs community. If you've been trying to do this thing by yourself, you own, you may not have a good accountability partner. At that point, you may need a coach. You may need someone who can do a little bit more, hold you more accountable than than an AP accountability partner. I was having a conversation with a potential new client on yesterday, asking me, several different questions. I just finally have to say, send me this information in the next 20 minutes, because they kept saying, I don't want to do this, or I'm afraid to do. No. I gave them a couple of tips. Do this. This is why you need to do it. Let me help you understand your why. Sometimes having your why ain't enough. I know we like this big thing. When you understand your why, you understand your purpose. Sometimes people know their why, and it's still not enough to move them. Consistency needs community. So like I said, when I was talking with this person yesterday, I said, send me the information in 20 minutes. You know I had that information. Yeah. Consistency needs accountability. So listen, burnout does not have to be your badge of honor. You do not have to check out of here with a heart attack or a stroke as a result of chronic stress, as a result of being on high on 1,000 all the times. I want to say this. You can absolutely lead well and you can live well. There is no you do not have to compromise your ability to lead when you build in practices. I know people work high stress jobs. I know people have a lot of responsibilities in the workplace. People are in school. You're trying to better yourselves. You're leading everywhere. And so I want to let you know that it is possible. And not only is it possible to lead well and live well, it was not only possible for me, but it's possible for you too. So if today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to put some steps in motion, I would love to support you inside of my coaching program. I would really love to, so we can go deeper in the quad shift framework, unlearn some of these beliefs, work together on what's keeping you overwhelmed, build your restoration plan, and help you to show up grounded in harmony. People like to use the word balance. I don't too much use that word because unfortunately you're gonna give something more attention. You're gonna give something more attention. And so in order to have peace in the midst of it, I like to say we can create harmony. We can have peace in the midst of competing priorities. Yes, you can. And so balanced leaders can lead well. You can lead well, whether you're leading your household, whether you're leading your civic organization, whether you're leading in the church, or whether you're leading in the workspace. Because my company name is Doing Life Well. That's not just the name. It's not just a slogan. We can do life well as a lifestyle. And it starts with us making some shifts today. Has this resonated with you all? Drop in the comments. Drop in the comments any takeaways. Let me know your thoughts. Did the Q, did the U, did the A, did the D? What resonated with you on today? I'm wrapping up one group right now. I can lead well and live well. Yes, Chantel. I am wrapping up with a group of ladies now. And so I will be onboarding starting the 16th. I will start onboarding, opening up my coaching program, start onboarding for my one-on-one coaching program, Diet Over DNA, and my Elevated Health program, which will start November, the first week of November. If you have been out here trying to do this thing alone and you're ready to stop doing that, let's get on a call, message me, DM me, drop it in the comments here. I will see the comments and I will follow up with you. I will follow up with you so we can get on this phone call and get you together. Get you on a pathway to reverse this faulty thinking. You can show up better as a leader and as a person. When I say leader, I'm not talking about you, a leader in an organization. You can lead in your household. Most importantly, I try to tell y'all, you are the CEO of your health. You are the CEO of your life. And so if you're ready to take those steps, I would love to work with you. We'll love to work with you. And the other thing that I would say to you all, excuse me, to my ladies, if you have not purchased your tickets to the No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference, shout out to Chantel in Miami. She's already gotten her ticket. But I have created a safe space for women, right? We held the conference this past February. Had a phenomenal time. We're already ready for 2026, and we're holding space for you. One thing that we know, we all carry weight. And sometimes we feel like we have to carry that weight alone. You do not have to carry that weight alone. And one, you don't have to carry in compartments. At the No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference, this is your time to relax, relate, and release and be around other women who are walking similar journeys. What it looks like is Friday evening, we're actually going to have an education session on juicing. I know a lot of people are juicing these days. And we're also going to have a yoga session. Friday is our keynote. Our speakers are going to bring forth a number of different messages that are going to help us move beyond where we are from a spiritual standpoint, from a just life be lifing standpoint. What is life after divorce? What is life when you feel like you're failing? How can you take your failure and power and make it go forward? I have an array of speakers. I have an array of ladies who are ready to show up and guess what? Pour into you finally. You've been pouring into everybody else. You're pouring into your community. You're pouring into your children. This is your time to be poured into, to have your own session, your own opportunity of restoration. I can't wait for you all to meet Dr. Amanda Rice, a phenom. Oh my God. And so she's going to be one of our speakers. If you came to 2025, Dr. Ashley Gibson is actually coming back. So she was a huge phenom, our Zumba instructor for 2025. So I'm inviting you, ladies, if you have not gotten your ticket to the 2026 No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference, this is one way that you can shift. This is one way that you can execute and implement the quad shift. Come on out. Early bird tickets are on sale right now. What's up? What's up? What's up? How you doing? Thank you for joining. Hey, early bird tickets are on sale now until October the 15th. All tickets are on my website only. I made some shifts from this past year. But the conference ticket, No Flinch Faith, you are the disruptor. I'm inviting you to disrupt this busyness idea. I'm inviting you to disrupt this idea that you do not have time to prioritize yourself sometimes. This is the time. The third weekend in February the 20th and 21st, I'm always going to pull up because February is cardiovascular month, heart health month. And so that's very important to me. It's very important to me. And so third weekend in February the 20th and 21st, mark the date, save it on your calendar, go ahead on and get your early bird tickets. The table seats 6. So get 5 of your friends so all y'all can sit together. At least for a little while, because we're going to switch that thing up. But I would love to see you to come out and support the No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference hosted by yours truly. It was a vision that God gave me. No Flinch Faith, stop flinching when it comes to our health. And so we turned it into a full movement. Got the t-shirts and everything. We have turned it into a full movement. We walk around here with No Flinch Faith, figuring out ways to pull up for our health so that we can better serve in our leadership roles, whether it's inside or outside the home. That's my invitation to you. And I'll also add this. When it comes to the conference, men, it is a women's conference. However, you can still support the No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference. One, I am requesting and would like sponsors. If you want the sponsorship package information, I will send you that information. 2, we're giving out scholarships to 2 high school seniors graduating from inner city schools in Jackson, Mississippi. And so you can donate to the scholarship fund, to that endeavor. So if you say, well, Regina, I just can't be there. I love your content. There is no way that I can get to Mississippi. You can still support us. We would love your support. So it's not isolated to you attending the conference. Matter of fact, I'm going to go out on a limb. If any of my content or if any interaction that you've ever had with me in your life, if you've ever interacted with Coach Regina, then you can support the conference. I don't care if it's $5, $1, $10, whatever it is. You can support the scholarships that we're going to give out. Because what I want our young people to know is you do not have to be an athlete and you do not have to be a millionaire to give back and to care. That's what that space is all about. It's to show up and demonstrate that everyday people do care and we can come together, coalesce, and make a difference. That's my charge to you. So as I close out this morning, thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and comment. Also, if you are not following me on my YouTube channel, it is Doing Life Well with Regina. Instagram and Facebook, it is my name, Regina L. Lacking. I am a published author. Today is day 40 of my 40-day wellness journal that I'll be concluding myself, and then I'll be rolling into continue to read Atomic Habits. So, thank you all so much. Oh, this is on my website. I have 2 books on my website. This one is on my website, and Not My Inheritance is also on my website. People say, how did you become the plant-based boss? I detail that story in Not My Inheritance, which is on my website. So thank you all so much for watching this morning. I look forward to seeing all my ladies, my civic groups, my church groups, my family, your sisters, your auntie, whoever. I want y'all to pull up at the No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference 2026, where we're going to have a wonderful time. You're going to be restored. You're going to walk away liberated. You're going to walk away empowered. And you're going to walk away with an action plan to do the thing that you've been desiring to do, that you've been putting off. So I'm inviting you to be a disruptor. I am inviting you to be a disruptor for your health so that you can continue to show up in the way that you do and do the things that God has called you to do. I thank you so much again, and I will talk with you all later. Have the most well weekend. Do one thing today that is going to support your overall wellness tomorrow. Y'all have a good weekend.